All right, welcome to Outcast. We are joined now by Shane Bitney Crone. He is the creator of the It Could Happen to You video that's gone viral. He also is the person behind the Facebook page, Equal Love, Equal Right. Shane, welcome to Outcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, we, from all of us, we'd like to extend our most sincere condolences to you for what you've been through. But for those who may not know, tell us a little bit about why you created this video.
Basically, a year ago, my partner was photographing a friend on top of her roof, and, he accidentally got too close to the edge, and he fell, and, he passed away. So I just obviously was traumatized by it, but, as time passed, I basically, realized, I can focus on, how horrible it is that he passed away, or I can, make the most of it. So, I made this video, not just, for Tom, but for me and, for everyone out there, just so they can hear the story. And I was, hoping that the video would move people, and it's working.
It certainly has. Tell us about your relationship with Tom. You were together several years, weren't you?
Yeah, it was almost 6 years, and, a mutual friend introduced us. And, it was funny at first. I thought he was, the most cocky guy I've ever met, and, it was almost annoyingly cocky, and, of course it just, made me, want to get to know him even more. But, as time passed, we just, hung out more, and then all of a sudden we were in a relationship, and, for almost 6 years.
And you're living in California, correct?
That's correct.
But you weren't legally married, right?
Right, because, as I'm sure you heard, for a moment in California it was legal, just for, a brief moment. And at the time we talked about it, but we just weren't ready for that type of commitment at that, that time. And we just assumed that if it's legal at that point, then it's for sure going to be legal soon, and we wouldn't have to really worry about it. But obviously, looking back, I wish we would have made the decision to get married at that point.
And you guys did have full intention of getting married. Like you said, Tom got you a promise ring, right?
Right. Literally, the Christmas months before he passed away, he gave me the promise ring, and, we vowed to, to marry when we legally could.
And you both are from very small towns. Tom was from Indiana, from a very small town, and you were from Montana. Is
That's
that correct?
Right. Yeah, my town's pretty small, but his town is, really small. Just, a couple thousand people. And
your families had dramatically different reactions to your relationship and your coming out to them, didn't they?
Right. Surprisingly, you would think that being from small towns that our families would kind of react the same. And, I didn't know how my family would react, but they were so supportive. And my mom, she said, I don't necessarily want this life for you because I know how hard it is, but as long as you're happy, then that's all that I care about. I was so grateful for that.
What happened when Tom came out to his parents and told them about you?
One thing Tom and I both agreed on is that we really didn't feel the need to tell our families that we were gay until we found the person we wanted to spend the rest of our life with. And so when he, was ready to tell his family, that his parents, they were outraged. His dad, pulled a gun on him, and, they basically just told him that every single one of his accomplishments, meant nothing now. And, because you always think that, your family knows, you just assume, as a mom that they would know that their child's gay. But I was encouraging him to do it. I was like, they have to know. They were so shocked when he told them that they reacted the way that they did. And, that was one of the main reasons that he just got out of Indiana and came back. He only went back to Indiana for his high school reunion.
And one of the saddest ironies of this entire story is that Tom's mother came out the very next day after this tragedy, and that day just happened to be Mother's Day, didn't it?
Right.
Tell us about what it was like when she and his aunt came out.
I had to call her to tell her what had happened, and it was hours before Mother's Day, and she told me when she was going to land, and so I assumed that I was going to be picking up her and her husband at the airport, but it was just her. And the thing that's kind of confusing that people don't realize in the video is that his mom actually, she's actually come to visit us since he came out. She's never apologized for the way that they handled everything, as far as when Tom came out. So when she came here, I just was reminding myself, hey, look, this is his mom, and so I wanted to be there for her. unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we had to wait for his body to be released from the coroner's office just because it was an accident, and they had to make sure that it was an accident. So she basically promised me that she would let me know what was happening and when they were going to release his body, and then she flew with his body, and I never heard from her again.
And you were on your way to Indiana for the service when you got a call from one of Tom's relatives. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my mom was with me, and my best friend Alex, who was actually with Tom during the accident, and we were in the Phoenix airport. At that point, still, even though she didn't tell me what was happening, I assumed that it would be okay if I went to the service. So when I received a phone call from one of his relatives, I was just in shock. I said to her, I was like, "So you're telling me that I'm not allowed to attend the love of my life's funeral?" And the family member wasn't telling me, that she wasn't necessarily threatening me. She was more concerned for my safety, and that's why she told me that if I were to show up, they were actually planning an attack, and they were planning to hurt me if I did show up. So I was scared at that point.
So she was looking out for you because she knew that they were planning on a violent reaction.
Right,
if you
and
were to show
and
up.
that's one reason why I didn't put her name out there or who she is, just because she really had every intention of just protecting me, to let me know what was happening.
And even though you were not welcome at the service and you were, in a way, disinvited, they actually had you pay for that service, didn't they?
Well, what happened is, it hadn't even been 24 hours when his mother was here when I picked her up on Mother's Day, and, she was asking about bank accounts, and she was asking about, life insurance policies, and, she basically said that, she has a lot of expenses on her own, and, so she wanted to see if there was any way that, I could pay for the transportation of his body and to pay for the funeral services. And at that time, I told her, I was like, of course I'm going to, help, even though I still had no idea what was going on with the planning of the funeral while she was here making phone calls. But either way, I was still going to definitely, help.
And you weren't able to attend the service, but you have been able to go back to Tom's hometown, but you had to kind of sneak in, didn't you?
Yeah, I was scared to death when I went to, his gravesite, but I wanted to wait for some time to pass because I just had a fear that if it was too soon that they would, one of his family members and be there at the site. So I was able to go, and it was, obviously one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. Just because, once you see that and you're there in that moment, it's like, wow, this happened.
So you released this video that you made, which is, by the way, one of the most moving and beautiful videos I've ever seen.
Thank you so much for that.
And you released it on the 1-year anniversary of his passing.
Right.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from viewers who have seen it?
The response has been unbelievable. I anticipated, a lot of hate, which, there is, in the comments, but for the most part, people are so grateful that I'm sharing this story, and there's so many people that can relate to it. There's comments that they're like, thank you so much. The same thing happened to me, and this has got to stop. And one thing that with the video is, I didn't want to make it just about equality. It's also about just, people in general. It's not just about gay couples. It's about straight couples. It's about everyone, that we all need to protect ourselves. And, especially for gay people, though, until we have the legal rights and it's easier to have the same legal rights, then we need to take the steps necessary to protect ourselves. Because if Tom and I would have planned more, and we would have, if Tom would have had a will and we would have had a power of attorney, then there's so many things that, would have been different.
Do you have any idea if Tom's family has seen the video?
I haven't, heard from anyone, that to let me know that, but, I'm assuming that they have. And, the one thing I wanted to make clear to people is I did not make this video to attack his family, and I don't want anyone else to go out of their way to attack the family, because that's really defeating the entire purpose of this video. Really, it's this video, if they see it, this is an opportunity for them to change their view and to change the way that they react to stuff in life. So I hope that instead of getting angry about the video, that they realize that they need to change.
I think that the takeaway for a lot of us who are in serious relationships and who don't have the benefit of marriage protections is that, and you titled the video this, it could happen to you.
Right.
And I think, Stephen, I don't know that I've ever considered what would happen if something happened to my partner along these lines. And luckily I have great, quote unquote in-laws. But,
Right.
You really do have exposure to extraordinary risk. And I think what a lot of people want to know is you've been working on the video project and the anniversary just came and went, but how are you doing? How have these last 12 months been for you?
Thank you for asking that. I mean, it's still, unbelievable. It still doesn't, feel real a lot of the time. You wait for the moment that it's just going to hit you and it's going to be a reality. I mean, of course I have those moments, but I don't want to necessarily just, feel sorry for myself because I know that, so many, other people are going through stuff like this. But yeah, it's been definitely the most difficult time in my life, and I'm so blessed to be surrounded by people that love me and support me and are, there for me.
What do you want people to take away from this?
I really hope that people watch this and they can look at Tom and they can look at me and they can look at our relationship and just see that we are just two human beings that wanted to love each other, and what's so wrong with that. And, ultimately I want everyone to protect themselves, and because we honestly, Tom and I never thought that anything would happen to him. You don't think that, but it does happen, and it did happen, and, I don't want anyone to have to experience the things that I did. Like I put in the description, I said, I've heard that the most effective way to change people's minds and hearts is by sharing personal stories, and so I hope that that's what happens. I hope people's minds and hearts, they change the way they view, equality.
Well, Shane, our hearts definitely go out to you and what you've been through over these last 12 months and what you've been able to do with this tragedy and turn it into a learning experience for so many millions and millions of more people who will be able to hopefully protect themselves to see what you've been through. Hopefully that'll give you some kind of comfort moving forward. And we wish you only the best and lots of love from us here.
Thank you, so much. And, thank you for your time. And I really appreciate you guys reaching out and sharing the story.
You've set up a Facebook page. I mentioned it before, but would you like to tell people where they could go if they would like to see the video or find out more information or share their story?
So I created the Facebook page, so it's facebook.com, equal love, equal rights. So it's, facebook.com/equal love, equal rights. And, it's obviously has the video on there, but it also has resources, for people that want to do more than just share the video, so different ways that they can take action to support equality. So there's, some resources on there to do that.
Well, Shane, thank you so much for your time today. We wish you only the best, and we'll be following where you go from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Shane.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.